Okay, what's up everyone? It's Mira Crawford and it's time for our next weekly video. It goes by so fast when I realize that it's time to post something else new. So I do hope that the last 2 weeks worth of information regarding interviews and best practices, and then in addition to going through an interview, not doing the best practices, getting to the end and then still not getting the role, and hopefully you've seen the difference. As always, Crawford Consulting is here to help you, so if you would like some one-on-one coaching, please feel free to reach out to crawfordconsultinginfo@gmail.com and we would be happy to help you. So today, what I wanted to talk to you about is bad bosses. Yeah, I know. We all have them, we've all had them, we may currently have them, but it is something that can really impact your career trajectory, and it's really important to identify when a situation is no longer helpful to you, but rather harmful. So outside of the very obvious things like not getting back to you, not approving PTO, not being available to meet, sitting down with them and they're bringing up things that you have no idea that they're talking about, all of those are very blatant and clear messages and signs that you do not have a good boss. But I wanted to give you a couple more things to think about when it comes to having a bad or toxic leader, and that should help guide you in your next role as to what you're looking for. Because like I said, I've had several really bad bosses and they were the reason that I left. And I think more and more people since the Great Resignation have recognized that they don't need to put up with bullying behavior anymore, that they can find something else, and usually something that'll also pay better, by leaving. But at the same time, leaving can be scary because what might seem like a good boss may turn out to be not so great of a boss, but it's a risk you have to take in order to move forward in your career. And if you are unwilling to take risks, then you're not going to get where you want to be. You have to be willing to fall, you have to be willing to start all over multiple times. Lord knows I have, and it stinks and it sucks, but it is what it is. So I just wanted to remind everyone that if you're going to start the process of finding a career and a role that is going to make you very happy, you have to be willing to fall down. You have to be willing to fall down, and you have to be willing to get back up. Now, here are a couple other signs. Micromanagement. No one likes to be micromanaged, and the bigger question that I have here when there's micromanagement is why. So something that you could do to your manager is say, hey, definitely want to keep you posted on this project that I'm working on. Is something wrong that I should be paying attention to or doing better, because I noticed that you've been really scrutinizing my work and I definitely want to do a good job. Then wait for the response. If the response is, oh, I check everyone's work and I have to make sure you're right, and kind of dismissive, that's not a boss you want to work for, because a boss you want to work for is going to go over any feedback that they have for you, good or bad, and make sure that you're aware of it. It's not going to be this, hey, did you get this done? Hey, did you get this done? We're all adults. We all should be treating each other as adults. And unless you've given reason to not be trusted, such as you're constantly turning in projects late, you're showing up to work late, unless there's something like that, you really shouldn't be micromanaged. So the next one is kind of like what I said before, is failure to give feedback. I had a manager once who told me everything was great, everything was fine, and he was like, oh, I'll email you my feedback later. His feedback was not only completely incorrect, because it's clear that he wasn't checking my work at all, but when I wrote back with questions and saying, okay, what is it about X, Y, and Z that is unclear, because you could see it here, he never wrote me back. That is a leader who is afraid of conflict. And if a leader cannot have a direct conversation with you, then the decision might not be coming from them. It could be somebody else telling them to do that who may be above them. But above all, your point as a leader is to create trust. And you cannot create trust when you basically send a one-sided message and then you do not communicate about it again. That is bad leadership, and I don't encourage anyone to work for someone who is willing to do that. Additionally, I am someone in each of my one-on-ones or whenever I'm working with someone, I say, what feedback do you have for me and what can I be doing better? I do that because I want to give them the opportunity to tell me, what I can be doing better. But I also want to hear what they have to say about my performance, because it may require a little couple tweaks here and there. But overall, I want to know, because it should not come up as a surprise when you are discussing your performance. Everything should be very much in alignment. And if your supervisor is not giving you that and then just kind of dropping bombshells on you and you feel like you've been hit with a ton of bricks, then that's not a good supervisor. Another one is their inability to say no or protect your time. So if your supervisor is, aware of what you're working on, aware of how much you have on your plate, and yet assigns you another task and says that this needs to be done by Friday, then they're not respecting your time and they're not respecting their own time because they know that you're down to the wire and you can only do so much. In fact, in those situations, they may be expecting you to work at nights and over the weekend. And that's not a fair expectation. You don't want to work somewhere where it's, do it tonight. Now, there are companies, and I know that I work for one, that are very flexible and will, have you come into the office and you can finish your work at home. That's helpful for me because I am a mother and I do need to get home to my child. But I still do my work and there's no question around it. So flexibility and treating people as adults, again, is really, really important in work culture. And I don't know when the development happened of, I'm a boss, I have to make sure that I'm telling so-and-so exactly what to do. I will say that I do know people who pursue the role of leadership with the sole intention of being the boss, not because they want to grow as a leader, not because they want to grow, the team in a way that's going to be very good for the company, but simply because they want to tell people what to do. Typically, you'll be able to spot those pretty quickly. If you meet one of them in an interview, don't be afraid to just move on. No, thank you, and move on, because the interview is also for you to determine if this is going to be the right fit. Another thing that I will say, two more things that I will say. One is gossip. If your leader is gossiping about other people unprovoked, like it's not a conversation around like, hey Amira, I want to get some feedback around so-and-so, how's your experience been? We want to make sure we're supporting so-and-so in this way, that's different. But if your leader is sitting down and just literally taking this as like a happy hour moment and gossiping, that's no good, because if they're willing to tell you that, guess what? They're going to tell other people that about you as well. So I'm a big believer that if someone gossips, if they do it to me, they're going to do it about me, and that's not a room I want to be in at all, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in dishonesty. I don't believe in trying to tear people down in order to build ourselves up, and I certainly don't think that should be happening at work. Like, we have enough stuff that we're doing in our personal lives, shouldn't be happening at work. And then the final piece that I have is poor communication. If they do not communicate with you, you're taking off, you have a doctor's appointment, you need whatever you need, you're still a work conversation you need to have, you have an escalation you need them to be a part of, and they're just not getting back to you, or you have to ping them so many times to make it clear that you need help, that's not a good boss. Because a good boss is going to recognize that you need help, you're coming to them, let's sit down and strategize this together. Something that I would do as a former manager, because for the first time in 10 years I'm not managing and it's great. Not to say I don't like managing, I will go back, but sometimes you just want to focus on yourself a little bit, especially as a new mom. That's really where I wanted to be. But I would never, ever sit there and not make time for my employees or go over a tactic, so to speak. Like, something I wanted to do if they have to have a tough conversation is practice with them in it, because eventually they're going to be the ones who has to have these conversations, and you're not teaching people if you're just doing it for them. So everything that I do as a boss was teaching people how to do it for themselves so that they didn't feel an over-reliance, because there's a fine level when you are at mid-senior and senior level roles where you are expected to handle quite a bit, and you should be expected to handle quite a bit, but you should also be getting the training that you deserve. So think about everything we discussed today, and I will talk to you later this week when we do another upload. Bye everyone.